Hey everybody, this is Seth from Live Well Greenhouse Grocery. Today I'm just going over a combination of equations for your aquaponics system for you to be able to build your own. Something that I have a passion for, so I figured I'd share what I've learned so far. There are a few things to consider when you're building an aquaponics system, and I'll go through those stages. There's based off of the systems that I'm using, there's three equations that you're going to need, which I'm going to be using what's called an flow and drain system. There's also a deep water culture system and an NFT or nutrient film technique system, which I'll be using the NFT as well, but for the calculations that I need, the flood and drain will give me the most accurate minimum requirements. So what I'm going to go over first is your fish tank requirements, second is your grow bed sizing, and then your sump tank sizing. We're starting with the fish tank because you're working with a living animal, and so that's going to be the most important thing, is keeping those fish alive, keeping them healthy, because when you keep them healthy, you keep your plants healthy, because without the fish, you don't have the natural fertilizers. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to go ahead with the system that I'm building right now. Is smaller. It's not a large commercial system, but the calculations still apply. You just want to be more accurate if you're going to be building a large system, because changes in your system can affect a larger system, a larger ecosystem, than it will a smaller ecosystem. So starting out, your fish tank, you're going to want to know how much room you have to put your tank in, how many fish you want to grow, and how much you're going to feed them. I have an 8x12 greenhouse. The fish tank that I have is actually a recycled deep freezer, and I've cleaned it out and it's about ready to go. I just got to get all the plumbing set up for the flood and drain. But the sizes of that tank are 23 inches by 29 inches by 43 inches, which comes out to, hold on, I gotta get my notes here. That comes up to about 28,681 cubic inches, which you divide that by 1,728 cubic inches to get your feet, your cubic feet, which that's 12 inches times 12 inches times 12 inches is where I got that 1,728. That gets me to 166 cubic feet about, which based off of how many gallons are in a cubic feet, which there are, I think it's 7. Where's that note? There's 7.481 gallons per cubic feet. So I think I have right around 124 gallons at the very top. So I'll be dropping down about 6 inches from the top, which would give me almost exactly 100 gallons for my fish tank. Now from there, I need to know how many fish I can keep in the greenhouse, or in the fish tank, what stocking density, how much I need to feed them to keep them healthy. So one ratio that I've learned from what's the name of it? The School of Aquaponics is, for a high density, you want to do a 1 pound of fish per 10 gallons. Sorry. And so, I mean, simple math, I can do, for my 100 gallons, divide that by 10 gallons for how many fish, or how many gallons per pound of fish I can have. I can have 10 pounds of fish in my tank. Now, that's also dependent on what type of fish. I think that calculation is based off of tilapia, which they're bred for extremely high density, but they don't grow very big. There's not a lot of meat compared to the rest of the body. What I'll be growing or raising is a hybrid catfish. It's a hybrid between a blue cat and a channel cat. They have a lot more rapid growth. Their meat is more nutrient dense, and they don't waste as much. So they're a more efficient fish, and they're not typically bred in captivity. So their immune system is easier to maintain, and they're a lot hardier fish. And naturally, they're a lot hardier fish. But that's the reason why I chose those. Chose the catfish. So based off of that calculation, now I know how many fish I can have, what size fish I can have, and that's based off of the size tank that I'm able to put into my greenhouse. Now you need to know how much to feed your catfish or your tilapia or whatever, which base rate is going to be 1.5% of their body weight in grams, which for 10 pounds of fish, that's 0.15 pounds, which is about 68 grams of feed per day that I need to feed the catfish. And that's it for the fish tank. There's a lot of math required for this, but if you do it right, it's simple, just basic maintenance. Next, we're going to go to the grow beds, because in a flood and drain system, whether you're using an IBC tank or you're using the Dutch bucket system, the media in your grow bed actually acts as a biofilter, so you don't have to have a separate filter for that. And you can even put worms in there, and they'll help to break down the fish waste, and that'll help to clean up your system better. You still want to clean your system out every 6 months or so, but just for general maintenance. So with the grow bed, your filtration for your fish tank needs to be at least one rotation of the full tank size per hour. So my 100-gallon tanks, I need to filter out 100 gallons per hour. And I'll be draining the fish tank through a gravity tube, basically. It's kind of like a U-siphon, but has a better break in it to where it doesn't completely drain the fish tank. It just drops it to a certain level. So the calculations for the grow beds, since I know that I have to filter 100 gallons per hour, that gives me a set baseline. I'll be doing a Dutch bucket system with 4-gallon buckets. Now, obviously, since I have media in there, I'm not going to be filtering out 4 gallons every time it fills up, because the media fills up about 40 to 60% of the space. Then you want to calculate that into how much water is actually going through your system, or through your bucket. So 4 gallons times or minus the 40% is 2.6 gallons of water that's getting filtered every time it floods and then drains. So with that 2.4 gallons, I need to have that many gallons divided into the 100 gallons per hour. So I need to have an equivalent. 2.4 gallons. If I have 10 Dutch buckets, that gives me 24 gallons per hour if I only do one cycle per hour. With a flood and drain, it's constantly filling up and constantly draining, but I can set the flow to where it gives me a good rate of aeration for the roots, so they don't get root rot. So 24 gallons. If you do if you do 4 cycles, then that gives you was it 7 or 14 minutes of fill time with 1 minute of drain time per cycle. So that'll give you exactly 60 minutes of flood and drain. Now, if I had 5 buckets, let's say I didn't have enough room for 10 buckets. If I put 5 buckets in my system, then I could do basically, I'm going to have to double the amount of flow into the buckets and cut the drain time in half, so it's going to have to drain twice as fast. So with 5 buckets, it's going to be about 12 gallons of capacity to fill per rotation, and then that's going to be 8 rotations per hour, where you have 7 minutes of fill time and 30 seconds of drain time. That's so if you want to do the math on that, 7 minutes plus 30 seconds, that's 7.5 minutes per fill and drain. Multiply that or divide that by 60, and you get 8. So 8 times 7.5 is 60. So now that I have the amount of gallons for my tank or for my buckets, I'm going to go with the 24 gallons, and then the amount of in my fish tank, which is 100 plus 24. That's going to be 124 gallons that I have in my system at one time. Now, it's actually going to be a little bit more than that because of my NFT system and my grow towers, but the calculations on that are there isn't any calculations that I've found that are consistently accurate. It has to do with the size of pipe that you have. I'm going to be using either 3 or 4 inch PVC for that, and I haven't found any calculations on that yet. But going off of the gallons that I do have, at a minimum, I'm going to have 124 gallons rotating per cycle. So my sump tank, this is the calculation when you use for your sump tank, needs to have as many gallons, or needs to be able to carry as many gallons as your system plus 40%. So 124 gallons. Now you're going to divide that by 0.6, which is the inverse of your 40%, which is 100 minus your 40% is 60. That's going to be break it down to a decimal. That's 0.6. So 124 times 0.6. That's going to be man, I'm going to have to do this on paper. Or divided by 0.6. So that's going to be, I don't know, close to, I think that's close to 200 gallons, maybe 180 gallons at a minimum to keep all the water in the system and have enough as a reserve, so that my sump pump doesn't dry out and fry. So I'm going to check my math when I'm actually building the system. I'm going to double check everything, and I'll give the exact numbers then. But as kind of a breakthrough, those are the formulas that you're going to use to make sure you have all those systems. Now, if you're not going to use a sump tank, it's going to be a little bit different, especially if you use an IBC tote. It's going to be a lot more simple. You're going to have 2 gallons of water for your fish. You're going to have about 115 gallons of water going through your grow bed, and that'll cycle. I mean, you could have 2 cycles in your through your grow bed, and you'll be fine with filtration. So that's what I have for now. If you have any questions, feel free to post below in the video, and I'll get back with you as quick as I can. Anything else, you can reach me direct through email on my website, livewellgreenhouse.com. Have a great day.